Okay, so today I want you to start with a clear fractions problem. This is out of the top 20. And if you know that the only thing that makes this hard is that there's fractions, you can think, oh, I'll just get rid of the fractions. You should multiply by 2 and 5. Some people would call that 10. I would say it's 2 times 5. Because that way, I won't have to refactor it again. I could just go 2 cancels 2, 5 cancels 5, and I get 5x plus 5 times 2 is 10 times 3 is 30 equals 2. Subtract 30 from both sides, 5x equals negative 28. Divide by 5, and there's your answer, negative 28/5. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now, let's see if you can do this other top 20 question, the distance formula. Do you remember it? If you had the point 2 comma 7 and 1 comma 9, actually 1 comma negative 9, would you please figure out for me what the distance is between those 2 points? If you haven't memorized the distance formula, I encourage you to think about a house. A great big warehouse where inside there's a fight going on. 2 separate rings where X's and Y's are fighting each other. As you walk between the 2 rings, what do you trip over on the floor? A plus sign. Very good. That's right. They're not fighting rings. They're fighting squares. They're squares in which these X's are fighting the other X's. All right. So hopefully you were thinking square root of is the great big house that you're inside of. And then there's something squared. That's a little bit of a stretch, but that's the fighting square where they're inside and fighting. And does it really matter which X goes in front of the other X? No, because 2 minus 3 or 3 minus 2, either way, you're going to square the answer. So we don't care if it comes out to 1 or negative 1. We're going to square it. Plus in the floor in between the 2. And here's the Y's fighting. Oops, Y's. And so hopefully you said my X's in this case are 2 and 1. And the other ones are the Y's. And that's 7. Be careful here. 7 minus negative 9. And yes, I got to be careful with those negatives. So that becomes 7 plus 9, which is 16. 16 squared. Oh, that's evil. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So that part's easy. I don't know what 16 squared is. I could go off the side of my paper and figure it out. 16 times 16. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 2 is 9. Hold the place with a 0. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 and 6 and 15 and 256. How many of you can multiply 2-digit numbers like that? Okay, good. 256 plus 1 is 257. Square root of 257. Any questions on distance formula? Okay, find the midpoint between those 2 points. Same 2 points. What's the midpoint between them? I know the distance between them. What's the midpoint? Okay, the midpoint is the average of the X's and the average of the Y's. So the average of these X's is 2 plus 1 is 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, comma, average of the Y's. This is a little weirder. They add up to negative 2. So then I divide by 2 and I get negative 1. There's your midpoint. 1.5 comma negative 1. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Okay, that's distance and midpoint. Those are 2 of the classic things people struggle over. Are there any of the other top 20s that you're going to have trouble with when I give you this top 20 again? It's coming next week. I think it's going to probably be right after your next big test. Your logs test will be on Tuesday. I think your top 20 will be the following morning. You'll have a chance that night after the logs test. You want to have either homework, study for the top 20. Yes? Okay. The question is, would this test be on the grade book? The top 20 test is going in the grade book in the 85% category, yes. And if you do really well on it, yay. If you did really well on it in the past, that just means you'll probably do really well on it again. And remember, it has unlimited retakes. Okay, so if you do bomb it the first time, you can come in and take it over again and over again and over again if you want to. Okay, so it's different than your normal test where you have a retake option, but you only can take it once. And it has to be done within a certain number of days. This, you can just keep retaking it. But the reward this time is different. If you can do it, I've got a silver piece for you, except it's copper colored. And this one is made of pure copper. And that is unlike pennies. You know, a penny's not worth a penny, right? It's worth more than a penny because of the copper in it. Well, this is pure copper. So I'm going to send this around. It would be a medallion that you would take home with pride, knowing that you were one of the few people who could pull off the straight A on the top 20. If you can pull off a straight A, I give you one of those. But you only get one shot at it. If you're an honors pre-calc, you should be good at this stuff. And so if you can pull off the A on your first try this semester, then you have, or this quarter, sorry, then you get a prize that you can hopefully be proud of and keep for the rest of your life. And if copper skyrockets in value, I want half. All right. Actually, what I was thinking, I had somebody suggest this. I could give the, I could trade it in for gold ones if you got a 36 in your ACT. But I don't think I'm going to do that. Too many of you would actually take me up on that. Even though it'd be awesome for the school district's average ACT score, it would kill me financially. 5 people come back and say, I got a 36. I got to come up with $5,000 worth of gold. So that's probably not going to be happening, but I might consider doing it for a silver. That'd be kind of cool. Give you a piece of silver as a, you know, like, wow, you rang the bell. 36 is rare. But if a few of you decided to take it really seriously, it might be worth that. All right, I'm going to think about that one some more, though. All right, your next job is to get ready for your test. There's a few things we need to remember on logs. So I want to remember a few patterns here that you got to know for logs in general. What's the answer to that one? No solution. Why? The base cannot be 0. Yeah. Okay. How about now? What's the answer? The answer is 1. Because if these two match, then the answer is actually the exponent on that one. Which brings me to this point. What if that isn't a 12? What if it's the third root of 144? If you can write that 144 as a 12, then you'd have the bases to be the same and you'd be able to find your answer. Try it right now. Compare with the kid next to you and see if you can figure out your answer to this one. You can always do a rewrite if that helps you. There's no x in this, so you could say equals x if you wanted to. All right, I'm going to pause for a second while you try that one. Okay, hopefully you said, oh, well, Mr. Server, 144 is really just 12 squared. And so I'm going to say it's that. Well, that's a good start. But you'd have to simplify this whole thing a little more. You have to say, actually, that's 12 to the fraction exponent. Roots go on the bottom, just like in plants. The root goes on the bottom, and that's the top. So therefore, your answer is 2/3. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Next one. ln. Ooh, this is a nice one. ln e to the 5th. When you're on a difficult problem, start on the inside and work your way out, just like the aliens like to do. Have you seen the movie Alien? Okay, I'll pause for a moment while you try that. Okay, let's see if you got this one right. I said start on the inside. Well, one thing you could do is say, well, I remember Mr. Server saying ln's really not the greatest. It's better if you say log base e. And then hopefully you'd notice, oh, these are the same, and therefore the 5 is the answer. What's the answer to what? This piece right here is all equal to 5 then. So then it's e in the front times 5, so it's 5e is your answer. All right. If I had just given you this, do you get that the answer would have been 5? As long as these two are the same, the answer is the exponent, right? So that it would just be 5. So if I put an e in front of it, it's e5 or 5e. All right, let's try another one like that. 10 log 23 to the m power is equal to 12. Solve for m. Start on the inside. So let's see if you did this one right. First up, I hope you caught that this is a base 10. Anytime it doesn't have the base, you put the base, and you hopefully go, oh, those are the same. So the answer is just that. And it is part of the answer. But if the answer is that, 23 to the m, that's then equal to 12. And I've got a variable as the exponent, and it's pain. So you got to fix it with a what? A log. So you go log base 23 of 12 equals m. And there you go. Now, some people go, well, what's the answer? The answer is log base 23 of 12. So you're not going to always have a nice decimal answer like 2. Okay? You could get this answer if you needed to with a calculator, and you type in log 12 divided by log 23. Do you get why you'd type that in? Because your calculator can't do base 23. But what did I just change it to by doing this? Base 10, and your calculator can do base 10. That's called a base change. That's another property. Yes? Well, isn't there a 10 in front? Nope. When this right here, when you have 10 to the power of log base 10 of 23 to the m, yeah, let me give you a simpler one that's like that. 2 to the log 2, actually that wouldn't work because it doesn't have the same base, but I'll make this be a 2, and then I'll make this be a 3. Do you get that the pattern here is that if these two are the same, then the answer is this number, 3? This would not simplify to 2. This would simplify and become 3. All of this disappears, and it's just 3. Same thing happens in this other problem. All of this disappears, and it's just that. There's a long explanation why, and on the first day I taught it, I did that. But now you just got to get that it's a pattern. All right. So now, one last thing. Let's say you had logs, and it was really confusing you the way the problem was written, like this. I'd suggest that you may want to make a deal with the devil. Trade in your soul for a good life. In this case, trade in something hard and make it easy. What could you do here? Yes? Yep, I usually start with the u. Well, I could do it either way. Log x equal u. Good. Now it's just u squared plus 3 equals u. And why is that any better? Because now it's just a quadratic. So you set it equal to 0, and you'd say u squared minus u plus 3 equals 0. And then if you can factor it, you should. If you can't factor, 2 words, quadratic formula. Okay, good. All right, so in this case, we let u equal this, and we end up with a nice simple equation right here, which we can solve, and we've made our life simpler. And at the end, though, we got to pay back our debt. And we made it easy by saying log x is u. We got to undo that at the end. So did you solve this? Did it factor, by the way? U and u, and a 3 and a 1. Yeah, 3 and a 1 is not going to be able to make a negative 1 u in the middle. So you're right. We'd have to use the quadratic formula. I'm going to stop there and just say, yeah, that wouldn't be that bad if I had made it factorable. All right. And when it was all done and I came out with like u equals 2, you wouldn't be able to just stop there. You'd have to go back and substitute back in and say, oh, u is really log x. So it's log x equals 2. And then if that's confusing, I've given you some advice on those kinds of things. What doesn't it have that would be handy? A base. So we put in base 10. And then if you're stuck on one, you should consider a what? A rewrite. I am going to give you 5 challenging problems, and I'm going to give you somebody to work with on them. We're going to shake it up a little bit by having you in groups that are of your choosing instead of the person across from you. And I'm going to have you, the problems are posted on the wall in here, and they're also posted on the wall in the hallway. So if you want to get out of the room to do your math, there's problems in the hallway you can do. They're the exact same problems. There's 5 questions. They are not super easy. One of them does involve a U substitution. One of them, you will think you'll have to use a calculator to get it, but if I used a calculator, all you'd have to do is graph both sides and see where they cross on every single problem. Okay, so calculators are not allowed for this. One of your answers does come out complicated with logs. So it's like log 2 over log 73. And of course, I don't expect you to get that decimal without a calculator. But if you want to know if you did it right, take your logs, grab a calculator, divide them out, and I'll tell you the answer as a decimal at the end. And we'll see if yours came out right. There's only one of them that's like that. Every other one comes out to an answer like x squared, or 3x, or e, or, and there's one nasty decimal one, which you'll see as log base 10 of 3 divided by log base 5 of 2, or something like that. All right, when you're solving, once you've got x alone, you've got it solved. So there's many of them that say solve on them. Okay, last thought is I don't want you to try to do them all in sequential order, because if you think about it, everybody be crowded around problem 1 trying to figure it out. So just when you get together in your groups of 2 is okay, but I'd prefer 3s and 4s. You get more heads together, somebody will come up with an idea faster, okay? So get in groups of 3 or 4 preferably, and don't all start with bread number 1. Spread out. There's some in the hall, there's some in here. Figure out all 5 answers on a blank notability doc, so you bring your iPad with you. And I do have the answers that I will show your group when you're done. Simple as that. It's not like the mystery isn't the answer. The mystery is, could you figure out how to get that answer? Okay, go for it. We're back in number 1 that we did in groups there. There's 2 good options for number 1. Please be with me. Quiet, please. Number 1 is 5 to the x equals 9 to the x plus 1. Option A, you just simply do a rewrite. Okay, I did tell you, whenever you're stuck in a tough question, think about rewriting it. So log base, well, what would the base be? Well, the first base I come to is 5, so I'll go log base 5. Then you got to jump to the other side of 9 to the x plus 1. And then you jump back, equals x. That's a rewrite. Option B, I'll do in blue. You could have just slapped a log on this side and a log on that side. Now you got logs in your problem. But that has a base 10. Wouldn't it be even smarter to slap in a base 5? And that way this and this are the same, and the answer on the left side just becomes x. There's a lot of ways to do these problems. Yes? We are going to, yep. So I'm going to continue with the way I did it in the first place, but either way, you'd have one of these exponents hasn't been fixed yet. Do you get how it's still got an exponent with an x in it? So then, because it's a log now, though, that can drop down to the front. And that becomes x plus 1 in front. All right, now I did do a problem like this with you before, and it's complicated because you've got x's on both sides, and this one's like trapped in a parenthesis. So your first thing you do is multiply it all out. I'm distributing it. So it's going to be x log base 5 of 9 plus log base 5 of 9 equals x. Now I've got x's on both sides still, but at least this one's kind of freed up to move because I need to get them both on the same side as each other. So now I'm going to bring this guy over to the other side over here. And so I'm subtracting x log base 5 of 9 from both sides. You get what I just did there? I'm just moving this piece right here over to the other side by really what I'm doing is subtracting x log base 5 of 9 from both sides. Okay, now it's over there. Now I have x's on both sides. Or I have x's on one side. And I got to get it down to just 1x. One of my favorite sayings comes into play again. If you can factor it, you should. I can factor that. x comes out 1 minus log base 5 of 9. And then I'm almost done. This was a positive, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. So then I'm going to now bring this straight down. Now divide by 1 minus log base 5 of 9. 1 minus log base 5 of 9. And that cancels that. X is alone, just like I wanted. And there is your answer. In case you wondered, if you actually divide that out, it comes out to like negative 3 point something, I think. But anyway, did anybody get it down all the way to that? That was the toughest problem. All right. And now, if I've done that for you, once in class yesterday and once in class today, you can know that that type of a thing is the type of thing we'd expect the honors pre-calc kid to be able to handle. Really, all it was putting a log on both sides. Is that a lot? Put a log on both sides. That's not that hard. Or rewrite. I rewrote and got it the red way. Either way, then the next thing is it too much to ask that you take an exponent and you put it down in front? That's not too tough, is it? Then, from there, it's just multiply this all out. Granted, a lot of kids are going to forget to put the parentheses around that, and thus will forget to multiply it all the way out. But once you got it all multiplied out, you got to get the x's all to one side. Once you got x's in 2 spots, you factor it down to just 1. It's really not incredibly hard. It's not easy. I get it. Nobody got it without help, so I get that's hard. Okay, moving on to number 2 is 5 to the 2 log base 5 of x. And somebody, I was watching, explain that. Would you explain what you said back there? I'm sure there was somebody in each group that like got this, but I watched him get it. It seems like we could just say the answer is this, but what's the pesky part? This 2 can go up as an exponent right there. So now if that 2 is up as an exponent right there, now that rule does apply. If these two are the same, the answer's that. So the answer is just x squared. Raise your hand if your group had x squared for that one. Okay, good. That was the easy one. On to number 3. Problem 3 is right here. Problem 3, I did a practice for you like this. It has ln x on the inside plus 9 equals 6 ln x. And it'd be a lot easier if this was just a u right here and a u right here. So we let ln x equal u. I'm going to save time and not write that. U squared plus 9 equals 6u. Raise your hand if your group got that. Okay, good. Then from there, I bet you were able to solve it all the way down. Did you get 2 answers? No, because it comes out to u plus 3 and u plus 3, right? Or u minus 3 and u minus 3? Okay, so after you get it factored, u must equal 3. I bet some groups may have even stopped there, but you weren't supposed to. What were you supposed to do? To reverse it back. And since the u was ln x, keep going. Ln x equals 3, and therefore this is base e. Skipped like 3 steps there. Now we can say what? E to the 3rd equals x. There we go. Raise your hand if you had e to the 3rd on that one. Okay, good. That was another one of the relatively easy ones. Number 4. Number 4's got a little trick on it where if you notice it, you'll be like, oh, that would have been so much easier. 2 log base, what is it, 9 or 4? 4 of x. And it says minus log base 4 of 2. That's where the trick is equal to, what's that equal to, negative 2? Okay. What's the trick? Got the feeling somebody just found it. What's the trick in this that would make it easier? Tell me something you see that might help. Yes? You cannot just divide both sides by negative 2. You'd have to divide everything by negative 2, and this one would have to get divided by negative 2, and that would get really messy. So that's not it. Yes? Okay. If you want to change that into a log, you absolutely can. You would change it. What base would you logically pick for your log? So you could have changed this to log base 4. All right, I'm going to record through the rest of this. so that you can see how to get these answers if you want to. Listen, please. Your answers, or your homework today, it says day 2 homework. You may do the evens, and believe me, you're happy I skipped the odds. I chose that intentionally, okay? Just do evens on the rest of that homework, and I'm going to finish this while you guys walk out. Have a good day. All right, I'm going to change this into a log base 4 of 4 to the negative 2. And then I have logs on both sides. That is a way to do it. It's not the way I was thinking of, though. I'm going to say that this 2 could be made into a 4 to the 1/2 power. Isn't 4 to the 1/2 power the same thing as 2? Yes, it is. So why is that smart? Because then this whole piece just turns into 1/2. So now I have 2. Actually, I'm going to move this 2 up as an exponent onto this squared also. And I'll have log base 4 of x squared minus, and this part is 1/2, equals negative 2. Now I'm going to add 1/2 to both sides, plus 1/2 plus 1/2, and I will have log base 4 of x squared is equal to negative 2 plus 1/2 is actually negative 1/2, which is negative 3 over 2. And I'm getting really close. And then I go, I'm recording the video here. I go 4 to the power of negative 3/2 is equal to x squared. That's a rewrite. That to the that equals that. And then I just have to take the square root on both sides. And technically my answer is plus and minus of that. And square root of x squared is just x. There we go. That is icky, but it's true. All right, moving on to the last problem I want to show for the kids that were gone, that are gone now, but I was going to record this for them, is problem number 5. And on number 5, you're supposed to start with an equation for y equals e to the x, except you're supposed to do a bunch of stretches and stuff to it. All right, so the first thing it asks you to do is to do a horizontal change of 1/4. Well, if this is going to be e to the x and I do a horizontal change of 1/4, the important thing is to know if they say that it's supposed to be a 1/4, that implies that it's a shrink, and that implies that you're supposed to put a 4 here. Next thing is you're supposed to say left 3. So to be left 3, I'm going to put a little plus 3 in there. Next step is, let's see, vertical shift 2 units. That's like plus 2. And the last, oh wait, it says down 2 units, my bad, minus 2. And then the last thing is a horizontal stretch factor of 6. You just have to throw a 6 up in front. There we go. Okay, that's how you do problem 5. So that's it for those practice problems. The homework for tonight was the evens on the day 2 of lesson 8.4, which is what we just did today. Have a great day.